Hey there, cannabis marketing community. I'm Emily Wells, the membership manager here at Cannabis Marketing Association, and you're tuned in to another exciting episode of Party Like a Marketer. Today's guest is Keri Branch. Keri is a dynamic and accomplished marketing professional with over 15 years' experience in developing and executing data-driven marketing strategies that effectively drive revenue and brand awareness in both high-profile and startup organizations. Keri is a seasoned marketing professional with extensive experience in and outside of the cannabis industry. Before joining PA Options for Wellness as Director of Marketing, she was the Wholesale Marketing Manager at INSA Cannabis and the Senior Marketing Manager at Ethos Cannabis. At INSA, Keri developed marketing plans for wholesale operations in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. During her tenure at Ethos, she launched in-house brands and contributed to the company's expansion from 2 locations to a multi-state operator with 15 dispensaries across Pennsylvania, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Ohio. Keri's background also includes roles in retail, tourism, and property management, as well as summer programs at prestigious universities like the University of Pennsylvania, Villanova, and Yale. Currently, she oversees marketing for PA Options for Wellness, which operates 6 dispensaries and a 65,000 square foot grow facility in Pennsylvania. The company is a clinical registrant partnered with Penn State College of Medicine and was the first to receive approval for Troches and Temple Balls, products beneficial to medical patients in Pennsylvania. Keri attended Montgomery County Community College and Holy Family College, holds several marketing certifications, and is recognized for her community involvement. Thanks so much for being here today, Keri. We can't wait to learn from you.
Okay, welcome everybody to today's episode of Party Like a Marketer, the podcast dedicated to cannabis marketing, public relations, and authentic storytelling. Today's guest is Keri Branch, who is the Director of Marketing at Vytal Options, which is a cannabis business in Pennsylvania. Keri, thank you so much for joining us at the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. I'm really glad to have you. We've had you in the CMA community for a long time now, and I know you are a cannabis industry veteran. You know a whole lot about marketing, this space. You've worked for license holders of various sizes, and I love speaking with the folks who work for license holders directly because you really do understand in a like your boots on the ground. You really do understand in the most frontline way what is going on. And you're in Pennsylvania, which is an emerging market, as well as the whole kind of mid-Atlantic, Eastern Seaboard, Midwest as well. Like there's so much happening out there. So I'm excited to hear your perspective on that. But first, can you just introduce yourself to us, to the audience? Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, how you got to the cannabis industry, and your professional background.
Absolutely. So as you stated, I'm the Director of Marketing at Vytal Options. We are a single state operator in Pennsylvania with 6 dispensaries and a grow and a very healthy wholesale business across the state. So well known for our mood and solventless brands and our dispensaries. What I do with them, responsible for the strategy and implementation for our retail and wholesale marketing strategies, as well as our branding for the brands we hold, and the digital marketing strategy and outreach to our patients across the state, and just helping them to get familiar with our products, our dispensaries, and hopefully converting them to join our medical program within the state. My experience, I do have 15 plus years of marketing experience prior to joining the cannabis industry, and I have been in cannabis for almost 5 years now. As you stated, I've been with a couple different license holders. So I actually started with those cannabis and was with them for about 3 years as they were in their initial growth stages. So when I started with them, they had just 2 dispensaries, and I was with them as they went through their growth phase to almost 13 across 4 states. So it was a very exciting time to be with them and to help them go through that. Transitioned and was with INSA Cannabis for a short while before finding my place here at Vytal Options. So it was nice to be able to have that experience across the different brands. They each had a different footprint. 2 out of the 3 were MSOs that held properties in Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maryland, Ohio, Connecticut, and Florida. So it definitely helps to give me a different perspective of the cannabis industry, how it can work, what our different resources are as we do different marketing programs and campaigns in this highly regulated market.
And are you from the Philadelphia area originally?
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. And are there those other businesses based there? Or I know you said they were in all those other markets, but like was your day-to-day in Bucks County?
So Ethos was actually based out of Philadelphia, although a good portion of our corporate office, we had a handful in Philadelphia, we had some in Chicago, we had a good portion in Massachusetts. That was a good, healthy portion of our business. INSA was actually based in Massachusetts. So while my home office was in Pennsylvania and I worked out of here, I did spend a good bit of time up in the Massachusetts market for both INSA and Ethos.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Okay, well, I would love to dive into more about the challenges that you face, things you've learned, and kind of get the audience a better understanding of that. But first, could you actually just kind of give some context to the Pennsylvania market? Like, do you know how many patients are there? What makes it different from any of the markets like that you've operated in before? Like, can we just talk a little bit about Pennsylvania, and then we'll talk about what it means to operate and market in that space, however you want to interpret that question.
Sure. So Pennsylvania is a slightly different market. We are very highly regulated. I would say the closest to us for anybody who works in this market or in the Northeast market will often draw the comparison between Ohio and the Board of Pharmacy who oversees there. Here in Pennsylvania, we're overseen by the Department of Health, and they just are very strict in this being a medical market. So the rules and regulations that we do have to follow are very, very different in regards to marketing, operations, everything we do down to the products that we are allowed to sell. So we're one of the few markets that still are not allowed to have edibles or pre-rolls or anything that can be combusted. So it definitely presents some different challenges in what we can do from product mix down to the different types of advertising that we can do and where those rules and regulations are. We are also still one of the few med-only states on the East Coast. At this point, especially with Ohio last week, going recreational, we are now bordered on every side by states that are recreational, and we are the only holdout that is med only. So it definitely presents a different set of challenges for us as we are taking a look at what our plans are, and it's really shortened our timeline. So I think any marketer, whether you're coming from within the cannabis space or you're coming from, retail or anything into the cannabis space, you're used to planning, whether it's your campaigns, your budgets, anything like that, we'd love to do it 6 to 12 months out, right? And I think when you move into cannabis, you're much shorter, 1 to 3, hopefully you can get it out to 6 months. But for us in Pennsylvania, I think we're looking at a much shorter window now because so much is changing so quickly. And so we're really, even if you've got it planned that far out, you're really shortening that window because of so much changing. It's like the ground is shifting under us day by day. And what could all of it mean? What is rescheduling going to mean? Is that going to affect 280? Is it going to affect budgets? Is it going to affect us in Pennsylvania if the rescheduling goes through? And is that going to switch us to recreational? And how quickly could that happen? We have legislation that's up that could just change our state recreational. So there's a lot of stuff that we're monitoring on a day-to-day basis to see how it's going to impact us, and where it's going to impact us, whether it's going to be, budgets, marketing, product mix. There's so much that could change so quickly here.
Is there a path for Pennsylvania with adult use? Like, how does that factor into your planning, short term and medium term? Because I know that is sort of overlaying with, rescheduling. We've got the election coming up. Like I think all of us, today's conversation in August and whatever conversation we're going to be having in December could be completely different. So how, can you just talk a little bit about that and maybe what are the conversations you're having internally, and how does that impact your marketing given that short possible changes in a really short period of time?
Absolutely. I can speak for what we're doing at Vytal Options, right? Everyone I think is looking at it a little bit differently, but I think all of us within the market are ready for it to happen within a short period of time. I can tell you that a year ago, when I was here for just 2-3 months after I joined the company, we were already saying, what is this going to mean and how quickly could this happen? So we've already put a year into the planning of what it could mean for adult use and how quickly it could happen. We have paid attention to what's happened in Maryland and how quickly they flipped. And then we've also paid attention to how long it took other states to flip, like New Jersey and Ohio. And we're very aware of the fact that Pennsylvania could go either way. We know that in legislature, they're talking about, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with how Pennsylvania's liquor stores operate. They're a state-run program.
Okay.
So yeah, so the way it works here, the state owns that and runs those stores. And so there is talk and there's legislation that's up that says, well, maybe when adult use comes, that's how we run the dispensaries. And so there's not a lot of us in the industry that would like to see that happen. We don't necessarily like how the liquor stores are run. There's just certain rules and regulations about how they do it, and we'd like to see it be, open retail. But it's a possibility, and it's something they're talking about. Without interstate commerce, we don't think it could be a really successful plan, but that's from us who have been doing this for so many years now and kind of prepping this. But it is something that's being talked about at that level. And for the rest of us, we're prepping for what it could mean and what we've seen happen in other states where once the adult use gets flipped, how are we planning? How is it going to impact the product that we have and have available and that increased demand? How is it going to affect our menus? And are we going to be prepared to offer a medical and adult use? How's our marketing prepared? And are we ready to flip over and say that we are welcoming? We've been a very med first only company. So last year we really started opening up that branding and what that meant, and really saying that while we are a clinical registrant within the state of PA, we do want to make sure that our marketing has started saying we are really open to everybody. And so you are a med patient now, but you're a customer first. And we want you to feel welcome here. We want you to know that we're here for anybody who has questions. And if you're kind of curious, and we're going to help walk you through that process. And so we really started putting that plan in place last year. We're happy with the results we've seen from it already. And we think it's really going to have laid the groundwork for us for once adult use comes.
I love that. I love that idea of opening up the branding and the conversation and pivoting with these anticipatory changes, also knowing that a brand and messaging change can take a year or two for it to really land and for I think folks to respond to it when you're talking about the longer term horizon. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that, and that's been working. But thank you for describing Pennsylvania. I did not know that about the liquor stores, and that is interesting because if that does happen, I don't think there is a precedent here in the US where there's any other state that does that so similar. I mean, Canada does, but I think that would be a first as far as I'm aware. But that would definitely be interesting. So we'll see how that plays out. But that being said, can you talk about, let's first talk about the challenges and then we can get into the success and what you do and how it does work. But given that it is so medical focused and forward first, what are some of the challenges that you face in this environment for marketing?
So I think one of the biggest challenges that we have in the state is our seed to sale system. We're one of the few in, as far as I know, one of the few in the country that our Department of Health requires us to use MJ Freeway, which MJ Freeway is something that gets used by other states, but we're required to use it in a way that doesn't allow integrations from our other partners. So it actually restricts a lot of the information that as marketers, we really would like to have, that allows us to really look at the analytics and how successful campaigns can be. And it really impacts us on a retail side and on the marketing side. And it's something we've been working with the Department of Health and others to really unlock that and make sure that they know that it can be used compliantly and HIPAA compliant, but still in a way that can be useful and allow the businesses to understand their business and what's happening from an analytical perspective and use it to grow in that compliant way. So that's something I think it's a very unique challenge. And even as you're onboarding new partners that you want to work with, I have found you have to be very, very careful because they'll say, yes, we work with it, we work with MJ Freeway, we integrate with them. Yes, we have other clients in PA, and you'll get to the stage where you're signing a contract, and then they go, wait, we can't integrate with them? No, this is no good. And you've got a signed contract, and you're sitting there with your hands in the air and nobody knows what to do. And it's happened at multiple companies. It's really difficult. So you've got to be very aware of what they do. Contracts in, I think, the cannabis space do not always have a well-defined statement of terms. And I think that's something else that needs to be improved just in our in our industry in general, that I'm used to seeing from my experience. So being able to have that and kind of work that into our industry, I think is going to improve those contracts and improve what we're doing and allow people to be better prepared. But I think also continuing to work with the DOH and continuing to either move on from MJ Freeway or to move into something where they allow us to integrate in a better way, to connect those things that aren't, is going to help us. We've been able to work with partners that can connect in a better way to let us see a portion that allows us to operate better. One of the benefits that we have is about 90% of our transactions do take place on our e-commerce platform. So orders are placed before they ever step into the store. And that really helps to merge a lot of that data, but you still complete the transaction in store. And so seeing what they're doing and being able to feed that back into your system to be able to segment audiences for your messaging, it's just so important. And there's still such a roadblock there that it just presents a really unique set of challenges that as a marketer, you've really got to be on top of it to know what's happening and what you can do to help fix the gaps.
And is it the state that doesn't allow the integrations? And like, is there concern data privacy? Is that why?
Yeah, HIPAA compliance and data privacy.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Well, that's definitely a big challenge because that essentially what that translates to is you have a data desert of information where you are trying to make informed decisions, and in theory should be able to, but can't. And yeah, that's definitely a problem. So that's interesting. That's how that's playing out. So what are some of the ways that you remediate that or solve that? Like, what are the best practices for operating within I'll just use the word data desert. Like how do you, it's great you've got all this on e-commerce. Like, do you over rely on that, or how do you piece together the information you have to get the information you need to keep taking steps forward? Like what's the solve for that?
So we've been able to find partners that can connect in different ways. We do rely on some of the commerce data. We also rely on our connections in Google Analytics that will connect some of the pieces as well. And so honestly, I will give credit to the partners that we work with that have been able to connect some of those pieces, that will give us the analytics that we need. Surfside has been an incredible partner that's been able to get us more analytics than we have from anywhere else. As well as Alpine IQ. They connect in great ways that can just open that up and give us more of what we need, and has allowed us to segment audiences and see the data in new ways that we've really needed. And it's worked with other systems that we have in place, and it's just allowed us to grow campaigns and see where we're successful and where we need to improve. And it's really brought in new audiences and allowed us to bring audiences back that maybe we needed to re-engage with and move forward with them and bring them back into the dispensaries to see additional sales and revenue from them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And can you just briefly explain what Surfside and Alpine IQ are for those who don't know?
Sure. So Surfside is a digital advertising company, and we work with them for our programmatic advertising. We were able to work with them even just starting slow. We are a smaller organization, so we were able to bring on board 3 dispensaries with digital programmatic advertising. And as we saw good results and return on ad spend, our ROAS, we were able then to talk to our C-suite and bring on additional dispensaries. And so we're in the process of expanding that with them, which is really exciting. And Alpine IQ is who we use for our text messaging and email. We moved to them from Spring Big, and it's been such an improvement in our messaging, in the delivery rates have gone up, which is fantastic for us, as well as our click-throughs and open rates have all improved since we've started working with them. They have better analytics than our prior partner, and they really work with us to help improve that, which for us, like the re-engagement campaigns that we've worked for and the better segmented audiences have just really, really improved since we've started working with them. Helps keep costs down, but to really know that you are engaging with that audience and being able to look at each campaign from an analytical perspective and say what's working and what's not has really allowed us to put together a couple campaigns and target either specific programs that we want to talk to our audience about, that we know that they're looking to hear about, or highlight a specific brand that we know we're doing a promotion or something like that with, and get that information out to the audience.
Yeah, that's and it also what I hear you saying is it's important that these tools are interesting and can work on their own, right? Whether it's email or text or programmatic, but you also need whomever is facilitating those, whether it's an account manager or someone internally, to be able to actually understand what they're saying and interpret that data and make decisions from it and be able to adjust and pivot so that it can be scaled and continue to show results, because you can't just launch it right away and expect like, oh, it's, we'll do this for 60 or 90 days and it's immediately going to work. Sometimes that's the case and that's great, but you also are getting that baseline of information, and that baseline of information helps you take it to becoming more informed and helping to scale up your efforts. So it sounds like those partners are effectively doing that and helping to take the information they have and the data they have, make sense of it, and use that in a way that is helpful for you. And it's smart too, how you mentioned just doing a phased approach. Like, let's start with a few locations, make sure it works, get that information, and then from there, scale that up. That's a general marketing best practice, but certainly when you have limited budget and there's a lot of different factors at play, a really important step to make sure you're starting off on the right foot. And you had mentioned, so you've got these different locations, they're in different areas. We had talked a little bit about product mix, which I want to get back to in a minute, but and then we're also talking programmatic, ROAS, bottom of funnel, but I kind of want to talk top of funnel too. So what, from a brand awareness perspective, I'm not sure how competitive the market is exactly where you are and how you describe that and what that scene is, but maybe speak to that. But overall, what I'm trying to get at is what creative strategies do you use for brand awareness, given that you do have multiple locations and are pretty limited in terms of how you can talk about and where you can talk about your products. And does programmatic fit into that? I've heard mixed opinions, whether people think, oh, programmatic's a bottom of funnel thing or top of funnel thing, but talk to me about brand awareness and your approach to that, given your number of stores.
So I will say, just to give kind of a lay of the land, it is a pretty competitive market in Pennsylvania. So we see, I would say some of the differences that we see here is, and especially I would say right now, the change that we have seen in the market is there's been a slowdown in sales of premium eighths, but we have seen smalls and ground flower sales for those categories have shot up. And we know that part of that is because pre-rolls aren't available in the market. So it has really just shot up the demand for ground and for larger sizes being available. So those are kind of insights that we can get from what we're seeing and react to that. And we have been. So for us, that brand awareness of making sure that our audience knows that those products are available for us, and we use that as brand awareness as well. So we use a multi-tiered approach, obviously, which you would hope that if you're able to do, or if anybody's able to do, you can do that. We promote it in store. So if you're seeing what other products that we have available. We do that through in-store TV advertising. We work with a partner called Seed TV, and they basically scrape our menus, and then we can create advertising through AI or banner creative that we do, and it'll rotate through that on screen, which I think is a really creative way to use some of those TVs that were built into dispensaries and then kind of became their own advertising desert because marketing teams got cut back and nobody had the time to do it. This is essentially allowing us, as a small team, marketing team of 2 within our organization, it gives us a partner to work with that allows us to do that without really much manpower or hours behind it, because the AI works with us. And again, we have a good partner and a good account manager that's helping walk us through that and optimize it as best as we can. So we're doing that in store. And then we also promote it outside. So I do think that programmatic advertising plays a part in that. We use the programmatic advertising and the digital ads that we're doing to promote not only the locations, but the brands and products that we have. So featuring those products within those ads helps attract customers based on what we know they're shopping and looking for. So we'll rotate through images of the products that we offer and the ones that we know are the hottest sellers at that time. And we can react pretty quickly to that and change the ads if we're seeing changes in the sales data that is coming in. So to me, being able to react and change that pretty quickly makes a difference. Being able to get out there, I think one of the other things we're excited to see come to PA to make a difference in that as well is some of the menu advertising that Jane offers, I Heart Jane, where you can either promote it on your own menu or work with some of your wholesale partners where you're wholesaling the flower to bring it to the top of menu. That's something else that is starting to make a bigger dent in Pennsylvania as well to bring about more brand awareness. Honestly, it's something we struggle with at Vytal Options, and it's something we're working on over the next year. We have one of our biggest brands. It's one of our biggest challenges, honestly, is our brand of flour. The brand name is not on the packaging. So it's one of the challenges that I walked into when I got here. We're hoping to finally have that remedied with some new packaging that'll be out later this year, but it's definitely taken us some time to get there. So we hope to do some good brand awareness around that with the new packaging that releases later this year. So it's always an uphill battle no matter where you are, but it's seeing what you have to work with, what your challenges are, kind of assessing that, and then moving forward with a plan on how to fix it. So we're hopeful that we'll do that. And I think pop-ups in our state are a big thing. Some states are, really successful with it. In Pennsylvania, I think it's a community thing. So our patients really enjoy coming out and seeing that. But what we see on the tail end and how we try and set them up, even with the brands who come in and do the pop-ups at our location, is there's got to be a plan to it. And we get a lot of feedback from the brands who work with us that if they come in, we make sure a week or two beforehand, there's product in stock when they come to do the pop-up. We have a promotion set up so that when the brand ambassador is there, there is a sale to support what they're doing there. Their product is on the menu and highlighted. So for us, it's all about sell-through. Whether it's them or whether it's us, whoever is doing the pop-up, there is a purpose to it. It's not just somebody coming out doing it. We really want to promote the sell-through of what they have on the menu. And so for us, it creates an educational opportunity for patients. And it also works from a brand awareness standpoint, and then also to sell through the product. So a couple different things that we really try and do to help get the word out there for whether it's our brand or someone else to help with the sell-through and brand awareness.
Yeah, it seems like partnerships have always been and continue to be so important and key in this space. It's definitely not can do things alone. And one thing we have found within our own research at CMA is for folks like you and honestly everybody, cannabis is a B2B2C experience. All products, they don't go direct to consumer. They have to go through a retailer. So brands have to be strong enough that retailers want to carry them. And then they have to also sell well at the point of sale. And retailers are building relationships with consumers and customers, and brands are building relationships with consumers and customers. So there is a natural, it's just an interesting kind of different way to shop because there's really no other products out there where you have to go, like I can't think of anything, I could be wrong, but anything else in the real world where you have to go to a store for it. You can even get like home services at Costco, right? Yeah. There's like everything you can do online these days, or get it shipped directly. But there's always such that harmony between brands and retailers. So I like to hear that it's working and that there's a lot of partnership there that can particularly help the patients and the customers because they get to learn something and get a deal and feel really positive when they walk out of the store. And I want to hear too more about your product mix. So Pennsylvania doesn't have pre-rolls. They don't have edibles. Like what is selling there? What are the hot products and yeah, like to talk to me about that. How does that play into your marketing strategy? I'm like, flower is the highest selling thing anywhere, and pre-rolls are, oh, I mean, pre-rolls and edibles are like top two. So like, what do you do? What's the mix, and how does it
So
change things?
So saying we don't have edibles is a little deceiving. So we don't have edibles. However, I will say Vytal Options was the company to bring troches to Pennsylvania. And if you've never heard that term before, it's the term for a soft losenge. It's an old
Yeah,
medicinal form. Maryland actually had it before edibles were legal in their state. So we brought that to market almost 3 years ago. Once that entered in, basically it is a gelatin, you know, I don't want to say gummy because it's not supposed to be a gummy, but it
yeah,
is meant to be dissolved in your mouth sublingually. And the benefit to that is medicinally, if you let it dissolve in your mouth subbucally, it does absorb and does not get digested and go through your liver. So it's a quicker uptake,
hmm,
and you'll get more of the medicine. So it's a quicker uptake into your system, and you don't lose as much of it through your digestive tract and through your liver. So there is a benefit to it medicinally. But it did definitely open the floodgates to those that had a gummy like edible in other markets that were able to adapt their recipes and bring them in. So the Pennsylvania market has definitely opened up, and now you will see many more of them under ingestibles or troches on the menu. So we definitely have that on the menu now, which has been a huge help. And I think the patients have really enjoyed having that. At Vytal Options, we're always trying to kind of take a look at what the audience is looking for. So back in April, we also brought Temple Balls to Pennsylvania. It's a legacy product. You see it mainly out in California. There's not a ton of people have done it. It's a style of hash that Frenchie Cannoli had really made popular and started bringing back. It was hugely popular. We actually did a drop for it for 420. It was so popular, we brought it back for 710, and now it's kind of becoming a staple on the menu. So as
temple
our
balls?
Temple Balls, have you ever seen them or heard of them?
No,
It's
I'm very familiar with Frenchie, but I've not had a temple ball that I, at least if I did, it wasn't called that.
it's really amazing. You take the hash or and they roll it into just this shiny ball, and it gets
Okay.
aged, and it creates a crust. And you don't dab it. You would crack it open after it's been aged and sold to a patient, that you open up the ball and you can add it to certain flour, not that you would combust it.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
almost creates that infused um, thing that you would consume. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
But
It
it's a
sounds like
really,
cheese,
yeah,
aged and sprinkled. It's like, that sounds great. Yeah.
and they're beautiful. The smell is amazing. We've got another lot that are dropping in just a couple weeks. But we're really popular for our solventless concentrate brand. And this is just another addition to that those that are really dedicated to our solventless brand have just really loved. And it really is for experienced users in the
Yeah.
concentrate market. But if that is what you love, or if you're looking for something that's a little bit more higher potency, this is something that you can really enjoy. And we've gotten such amazing feedback about it. So we really do try and innovate and see what our patients are looking for. And being a smaller organization, we can really bring that to market pretty quickly. So we really try and pride ourselves on, being that cutting edge and bringing new things to market.
That's cool. I gotta find one and try some now. How big are they? Like
So
little,
like a marble, tiny
okay.
little
Yeah.
marble. Yeah, I'll send you a picture. They're
Okay,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah, that would be awesome.
But
That's
when we launched it, there's plenty of people that are not familiar with it. So
that was gonna be
again,
my
with like
question.
branding and marketing, we brought that out with a content piece that we
Okay.
pushed out through text and email and through social, so people could learn about it. And it winds up on Reddit and things like that. And those who are in the solvent list, that's their category. That's what they love. They help spread the word. So it really kind of spreads like wildfire, which is really nice. So we're able to use that passion that our customers have for us, for that brand, and for what we do, and really leverage that to have them talking about what we do as well. So it's exciting to see things like that happen pretty organically.
Yeah, that, I mean, that's every marketer's dream. And when you say content piece, like, was it a blog post? Because I would imagine if that obviously sounds like and is something that an experienced user would consume, that with just a little bit of information, they would pick up on it and, oh, I get it. That makes sense, where there is that education gap. But in terms of maybe the first evangelists or those who understood it and started talking about it would digest that pretty quickly, I'm assuming. But like, what was that content piece when you say that? Is it like a blog post that you're sending out? Is it a series of pieces of content? Yeah, tell me about how you introduce that.
So we did introduce it with a blog piece, and we also did a supplemental blog piece just on concentrates in general, so that this was really interesting, but we knew it was for experienced users. And so if that was not you, but you found it interesting, but you wanted to see what would be maybe your skill level, then you would find this for you. So we actually did two pieces together, so it provided information for kind of everyone. So if temple balls were not for you, but you wanted to see what concentrates were, and so you had two pieces that went together, and we pushed them out as the launch happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's anticipating follow-up questions, and giving a decision tree to the folks who would receive that so they can learn more. Well, while we're speaking about education, do you have any other examples or any other best practices you've learned about how you approach educating potential customers about your products? And any other thoughts on like how to do that while staying compliant? Because I know you obviously can't make health claims, but a product like a temple ball, you have to just at least at a minimum describe what it does. Like, how do you have a general framework or philosophy towards consumer or customer education?
So I think one of the things that I find most frustrating about the program, and I think it relates to Pennsylvania and a lot of other markets, but Pennsylvania in particular, like Massachusetts, you can go in and you can see jars, you can see the flower, you can kind of smell it, but in our industry, you can't do that in Pennsylvania. Everything is, in a jar behind the counter. It's just not there available to see, let alone if you have questions or you're not really sure if this is for you. It's not like buying a sweater or sneakers. You can't go in, ask questions, look at it. It's just different, right? So what we try and do is make ourselves as accessible as possible and try and spread that word. So we try and get out to as many community events as we can to show we're accessible. We also try and promote the fact that Pennsylvania, unlike most states, we keep a pharmacist on site at all times. So even if you just want to call in and ask questions, the pharmacist is there. If you're coming in for your first visit or your 101st visit, the pharmacist is there. Your medical health, your medications change all the time. And we want to be there to walk you through that process no matter where you are. No question is a silly question. We want you to know that we're there to support you through your health journey no matter what. Whether you're doing it for fun, for a serious medical condition, or just need a better night's sleep, or to lower your anxiety during a specific time, or overall, you just need a better quality of life. We're always going to be there to support you. And whether that is by providing the educational articles on the website, telling you a little bit more about the research we're doing with Penn State College of Medicine, and keeping you up to date on the advances that are happening there. We just try and meet the patient where they are by providing a number of different outlets and telling them where we are and what we're doing. So just trying to meet them where they are and listening to where they would like us to be. So we're always kind of in our Instagram account and answering questions there. We're out in the community and making ourselves as available as possible at the dispensaries and keeping them as open as we can while being compliant.
And having the on-site pharmacist, is that a regulation or a business choice?
It is a regulation. However, the regulations did change a little over a year ago, where they didn't necessarily have to be on site. You can do them by phone now, and pharmacists can support multiple locations. We have made the business decision to keep a pharmacist on site at all locations because we think it is really important for patients to have that access.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, that explains a lot about education. That's a great way to do it. Can you also share an example of a successful, so kind of getting back to campaigns and different ways to reach consumers, any examples of successful marketing campaigns that you've run and what made them effective?
I think one that is different than the typical campaigns that are that I've seen in the state. We did what I know to be one of the first bounce back campaigns. Something that's really typical in retail, like Kohl's Cash. I think everybody's kind of heard of that, right? But we implemented it for dispensaries. It's kind of an old school way of doing it. But we do have an older average age for our patients here in PA. And so we decided to give it a shot about a year ago and see how it went. We presented it to the Department of Health and said, does this fall? Because sometimes like the way our regulations are written, you can't always tell like, will this idea fall within this regulation? And so you just kind of have to present it to them and say, does this fall? Are you okay if we do this? It's kind of like asking mom and dad, are you okay?
Yeah.
And they said, yep, this falls within the regulation. And so we tried it and our patients really liked it. So we set up the program where we knew we would have an influx of traffic during a particular week. And so if you bought a certain amount, you got this coupon and it was $10 off a purchase in a future week when we know traffic would die down because we have been heavier here. So we set it up very strategically to bring the traffic back in when we wanted to see it. And we actually saw a really good return rate. So we knew patients liked it. We learned things along the way. We've done it a couple times now. So we've gotten a little bit more strategic about the reminders like, hey, don't forget to come in and get your bounce back. So it definitely continues to drive them in on that busy week, which is when we're running heavier sales or things are happening that we want them to come in for. And then putting up, hey, this is your week to redeem. And each time we've done it, we've seen increased redemption rates, which to us, that tells us the patients are liking it, enjoying it, and it's staying within the margins that we want to. So we continue to do it and continue to tweak the formula to say these are the times we want to do it to supplement either driving traffic or driving sell through, whatever it is that we're looking to do, we can tweak the formula to have it work. But to me, it's an old idea that you're able to reuse within this industry. And it's something we really hadn't seen happen yet that our patients are really enjoying.
Yeah, that's cool. It is so much about working in marketing in this space requires you to be really open-minded and think creatively and come up with new ideas and interesting solutions. But I love that that's a older way of doing things, but it works for your audience and people, it also means that they're paying attention. And that's engagement is really, I mean, that's a form of measuring customer engagement is, okay, I know to come here, get this and come back then and time it out and space it. And obviously reminders help, but that seems like a win-win across the board.
And for us, it creates a shopping pattern. So if we know they're coming in once to get it, they're coming in twice to redeem it, and most likely then we're going to see them a third or a fourth time. And that's what we're continuing to measure over time. Because for us, if we can bring them back 3-4 times, then we know we're creating a pattern or a habit where hopefully we're going to become the dispensary that they're loyal to, right? It just becomes your regular store that you're always at. And that's what we're after in the long term. So a lot of the things that we do, we want to become the dispensary that, you trust. We have the knowledgeable associates, but can we become that regular dispensary that you're at on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, whatever your preference is, or, tracking what they're doing. So I think this is something that contributes to it. One of our text campaigns, we've got a really good points program. It's one of the most financially beneficial for patients in Pennsylvania. Our existing patients love it, but they tend to forget what day they get double points, which is part of the program. So we started a campaign where we included it in our text. Before we didn't do that, we already had high traffic on the day that was double points. Well, we doubled down and said, let's do a campaign. If they're not sure when the double points are, let's lean in and try and create the habit where they know what day it is. We found that we had an 85% open rate on,
Wow.
I'm sorry, click-through rate on the text messages that had the reminder for the double points, 30% higher than any other one we had sent over like 3 months. So we're like, this is definitely content they want to see. So if we do it, we're automatically going to take advantage of, that day, that sale, that program that is already in place. We don't have to do anything additional for it. We're reinforcing a program we know they already love. We're seeing good results from it. And hopefully they're going to continue to open the text messages as we send and see what else is happening later in the week. And that tends to be what we're seeing happening. So it's taking advantage of something that's already there. It's creating a pattern we want. We're seeing good results from it.
That's really cool. That's really cool to hear. Well, last question I have for you. What trends or changes do you see for the future of marketing? And this could be specific to medical, it could be specific to Pennsylvania, it could just be industry specific, but given your deep experience that you've had at these businesses, like where do you see the future and how would you advise someone getting into this space? Like how should they think about what the next few years might look like?
I honestly think over the next couple of years, we're going to get closer and closer to what actual retail is. And I think we're already seeing it. And I think with the rescheduling, it's going to get closer and closer. I think what I'm excited to see, hopefully with the rescheduling and 280 going away, is an increase in budget. So hopefully for
Yeah.
us, the budget is closer to when we were in prior industries, but opening up new marketing channels too, allowing us to advertise in places we weren't able to and really kind of leveling the playing field for those we're competing against. And I'm really hopeful that we'll see interstate commerce. I think that's something that could really change the face of our industry and really provide patients with the best medicine that they can get. I think while it's really great to, grow something locally and be able to consume it locally, I do think it is hard and frustrating if you find a product somewhere and then you go home and you can't have it again. Or it's just not the same, or, those restrictions can be really difficult on patients. And we
Yeah.
find that all the time. So I think being able to open up interstate commerce will really change the face of what we can offer and what we can market and how these companies are organized. So I think that's a change that is coming and could be really exciting for all of us and for patients and for how we do what we do every day. And really, hopefully, that will get Pennsylvania recreational. So that's something I think
Yes.
that really excited to see for us locally and could really change things. We often say that Pennsylvania is is like a recreational state kind of, pretending that it's medical. We have so many people here, I think, that are so ready for it. And I think that is how we would operate best, is being able to offer it to, both audiences that are really being able to use it both ways. And I think being in this industry long enough, that whether you got your med card for one thing or another, you're definitely using it for multiple things at this point. The plan is amazing and has so many benefits. And being able to open that up would make a big difference for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, Keri, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your insight and join us on this show. Do you have any, like your LinkedIn, email, social for yourself or the business, so our followers can follow along or learn more about you or Vytal Options?
So I am on LinkedIn. You can find me there. We're Vytal PA on Instagram. You can follow us there. We try and be very social and active on there, and you can find me on Instagram as well. So try and be very active with what we're doing and where we're going. We'll actually be at a Cresco event later tonight, trying to support them. So we try and stay very active in the community and the industry, and we look forward to seeing more of you out and about.
And it's Vytal with a Y for everybody
Yes.
listening.
Yes.
And we'll link it in the show notes. But yeah, Vytal with a Y in PA. Well, Keri, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with me today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please subscribe to this podcast. We're also on YouTube where you can see the video version. And if you'd like to connect with the CMA community, please visit us at thecannabismarketingassociation.com or on social media at Canna Marketing. You can also sign up for our newsletter on our website to stay up to date with new episodes, tools, insight, blog posts, and more from the CMA community and hear from our members. And if you're interested in learning more about membership or becoming a guest on the show, please reach out to our team at membership@marketingcannabis.org. See you next week.